Okay, is it better now? Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you well.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, I want to continue putting on the elevator music.
It was pretty sweet elevator music. Really set the mood.
It was good elevator music.
What? Leah can hear me? It's just static.
Ruben, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, the elevator music could have been AI generated. AI makes good elevator music these days.
Really? Okay. Wait, is that a thing you've done? Wow. Cool.
I haven't personally done it, but I've heard some that somebody claimed they made in 25 minutes with AI tools. I was actually impressed. At first I thought, well, that's kind of nice listening. It's not, super creative or pack a huge punch. But then there was some creative elements in it too. I was quite impressed with the most recent thing I heard that was AI generated. Made the lyrics and the music.
Okay, I feel like I'm getting old as you hear you say that. Honestly, it's just like crazy. Honestly, I'm like, damn. I just remember for me, this is 20 years ago. So firstly, yes, I think not that old, but yeah, 20 years ago, I just remember playing with, sequences and just experimenting and just taking a sample and then looping it and doing all the work. And now everything is automated and everything is increasingly automated. And that is the direction of the universe as far as
It is.
we as a species
Sure
is concerned. It just it kind of, yeah.
You just sound really old. Like, oh my god, technology. Hey, welcome to our listeners who are just tuning in. We're waiting for a couple more people to start. I mean, that's scheduled to be in about a minute or so. We'll probably wait a little bit more. Welcome to Snutter Star, who is apparently a Catizen fighter, which I have no idea what that is. Oh, I think it looks like a Catizen AI. Okay. Hello, Martin. Hello, Gungdan. I still do not pronounce your name. And Sige Basquero. How do you pronounce his name? Sige? Sige?
I kind of, is it like
Ziggy.
cigar? Ziggy, not cigar.
Ziggy. Yeah, so today we'll be covering what makes a privacy coin private. Actually, I don't know if anyone saw the news, but they apparently denied bail for Alexei Pertsev of Tornado Cash, and yeah, it's not cool.
No,
I was not aware of that, but
crazy.
No, that is the new direction of our world, isn't it? Yeah.
Even 2 weeks ago, Kaspersky was banned in the US, which also was kind of crazy as well.
Yeah, I think it's, from a legal point of view, I find it interesting. I'm kind of curious to see what you think. From a legal point of view, where do you sort of stand on this, Ruben?
I mean, they can sanction whatever they want, right? But I'm just like wondering, how could they? I understand why they would have said like, okay, no Kaspersky in any government offices or any critical infrastructure, but they are saying like, oh, even our American citizens can't use Kaspersky, and they didn't actually even point to anybody. They just said like, because Kaspersky is based in Russia, the government could compel them to use this in a bad way. And I was like, where's your evidence? Where's your thing? It's just like hypothetical, right? Which I found was like, I understand where they're coming from. Not necessarily I agree, but what I found really weird was I think they even sanctioned Kaspersky executives, and I was like, why would you do that if you're not accusing them of doing anything? You're just saying possibly they might do something. Why sanction them? Which is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah,
because
it seems
they
to me
have
like it's
access.
violating due process, right?
Yeah.
Required by the
Well, yeah.
Constitution.
Yeah. I guess what I was going to say is, do they secretly have access to Minority Report beings? Like just, a little vat full of bald-headed, I guess,
Yeah.
bald-headed people with weird predictive abilities. It has AI gotten that advanced that they're secretly using some kind of AI prediction module to go, yep, Kaspersky has an 80% probability of breaking these rules.
All right, looks like it's 9:03 p.m. I mean, obviously, we found that I think something must have changed with the Twitter or X algorithm, which kind of meant that our spaces didn't get as much reach as we wanted. But all of these spaces are always recorded, posted on a YouTube, so they are there for posterity. So yeah, maybe we can kick it off, and I guess we can have a longer, longer Q&A session if anyone wants to ask and stuff. Welcome everyone, and little cozy meetup. So yeah, maybe let's get right into it. Maybe for the benefit of the listeners, I kind of recognize everyone in this in this space, but yeah, for the benefit of those that listening on YouTube, maybe Pivex, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves? Yeah.
Sure. I'm Yinichar. I represent Pivex in these roundtable discussions, and Pivex is a private cryptocurrency, and we're going to discuss what really defines a Pivex. What defines a private cryptocurrency, but it meets lots of requirements. It protects addresses, sender, receiver addresses, and amounts sent.
Yeah, sure. And we also have Dr. Cat. I'm not sure you're both representing Particle and Basic Swap, right? Having lots of hats. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Cat, Dr. Cat, and I represent for the Particle project, which is kind of responsible for the Particle marketplace, Particle blockchain, and Basic Swap DEX. The Particle blockchain is a privacy-focused cryptocurrency which supports Ring-CT operating on a modification of the Bitcoin code base. So in many ways similar to PIVX, utilizing our chain for currency settlements and payments allows you to obfuscate the sender, the receiver, and the amount. But we also operate on public states and seed states where only the amounts are obscured.
Cool. And you didn't mention your marketplace. Did I miss that?
I did gloss over the marketplace. So yeah, the Particle blockchain is the native currency for our sort of decentralized, privacy-focused marketplace. So kind of going into the idea of what makes a privacy coin private, we kind of added several layers, in terms of not just settlements, but actually the platform for listing goods and services has multiple layers of privacy built into it, and the platform through which the messaging to list those goods and services and communicate the execution of trades and listings on that marketplace occurs in a highly private manner utilizing a mixed-net data layer called SMSG, the Secure Messaging Network, and that's basically a peer-to-peer, almost uTorrent-style data layer that has default end-to-end encryption on all messaging, but also, unlike Tor, or unlike the torrent network, has built-in support for cryptocurrency settlements. And that doesn't just mean our native blockchain, that means potentially any current cryptocurrency or blockchain can be settled via usage of the SMSG network. And that, in turn, forms the basis for our decentralized exchange, Basic Swap DEX, which I would argue is the world's most private decentralized exchange. And probably the only one in the world that currently supports bidirectional Monero atomic swaps, as will be supporting bidirectional Mimblewimble atomic swaps as well, which we will be kind of hopefully deploying around or just after the Litecoin Summit, where we will be presenting our DEX too. So that's us in a nutshell.
Cool. So, okay, for those of you joining us, I mean, the Privacy Roundtable is, I guess, it's where, I guess, 4 projects come together, and we're all like friends. We're all building privacy products. We talk about privacy. We cover topics that are relating to privacy and just have a good time. And I think it's a great start to, I guess, improving collaboration between privacy projects. We also have regular guests from other privacy projects. We had Beam on. Who else did we have? We had Joel. I think next month we'll be probably having some from Zcash. So yeah, this is where we talk about privacy and stuff.
I think it's funny you say that. I think we've probably hosted almost every major privacy project as a guest at some point. Like, not every one, but we've gone through a big chunk, in terms of
who do we have from Monero?
Zano.
We had
we had Zano as well.
Yeah, we had Zano. From Monero, we had this is terrible that I'm forgetting his name, host of Monero Talk.
Douglas Tillman, right?
Yeah, Douglas. We had Douglas on a few months back. We've had Joel Valenzuela from Dash. We've had guys from Veil. We've had
Zano.
Yes, Valnero as well.
Veil.
Yeah. We had Beam CTO on. We've had. There's actually been quite a few different projects that we've actually had on, and I feel it's really funny because like the more of these we do, the more I'm like, how many privacy projects have we got left where we can be? Do you guys want to guest? It's quite an interesting question, especially as the current framework for cryptocurrency seems to be going more against. I feel maybe this isn't true, but I almost feel like the current state of play for cryptocurrency projects is not to launch services that are privacy focused, and that's simply in the context of a regulatory environment that is increasingly anti-privacy on a global setting, particularly in Europe.
And a little known fact or a little tidbit is that I think every project here, with the exception of Basic Swap, has had a rebrand from a more edgy name, I would say, right? Like, I think
that's true. That's a good observation.
PIVX came from Darknet, right? And Particle used to be called Shadow Cash, right? and Firo used to be called Zcoin. I guess Zcoin is the least nefarious one from in terms of names, right? I don't mean it as a dust. No darkness. But hey, Dash also used to be called Darkcoin, right? They were the original dark people.
Exactly, yes.
That's right.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting how we're still building privacy tools, but we also kind of realize I think all of us have realized that while we are still privacy coins at heart, it's not a good thing to kind of associate privacy with illicit activity. I actually had a really annoying kind of interaction this morning where I was paying one of our contractors or the market makers, and I use something called Railgun, which is like similar to Tornado Cash, and unfortunately that transaction got flagged for using a privacy tool, and then they were like, why would you use a privacy tool if you have, if your proceeds are legal? I'm like, hello, we are privacy coin. And obviously we're going to be using privacy tools. I said, do you really want a business? Because if you're telling me I'm doing the wrong thing by using a privacy tool, you can really F off. So I think,
wow.
Yeah, so that was an interesting interaction. It was actually Bybit that flagged that transaction, but actually let's go into the main topic, which is what makes a privacy coin private, right? And perhaps I don't know, is it related? What is a privacy coin? Which sounds really obvious, but some people have very different ideas of what a privacy coin is, right? Some people say unless it's mandatory privacy, you're not a privacy coin, you're all full of shit, right? And others feel you have to have inbuilt privacy features. Some even say, just have a coin mixer on it and you're a privacy coin. And I'm just very interested. I don't think that's a clear answer. It's not super well defined. I think most regulators and whatnot just look at CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap and see, oh, what's under the privacy column, right? But yeah, so well, maybe let's start with Yanucha. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, I think that privacy, it's a spectrum, of course, just like you were talking, Ruben. It goes all the way from basics. Verge protects IP addresses, right? That's their thing, all the way up to Monero and like you say, the ones that have mandatory privacy. But even Monero, it's still a spectrum, right? I mean, you can do timing attacks on Monero. And they continue to evolve Monero. They some years back, they were well into their protecting amounts and addresses when they put in Dandelion ++, right, to protect IP addresses. And the whole reason there's a ++ with the algorithm is because there was a Dandelion, right, that they determined worked if everybody cooperated, but if all the nodes didn't cooperate, like if you had a botnet, it wouldn't work. So they moved to Dandelion ++. It's always evolving, privacy, and there's always gotchas out there with every coin, and it's an arms race. So I think, kind of my take on what defines a cryptocurrency is it requires
currency or privacy currency.
Private. Did I say privacy coin? What defines a privacy coin is in part self-identification as a privacy coin, combined with honesty about what they're doing. So, there's some coins out there with good privacy techniques that you don't think of as privacy coins because they don't define themselves that way. I think if, and part of being honest means meeting, in my mind, some minimum thresholds. I think to really call yourself a privacy coin, you need to do a little bit more than just protect IP addresses, because there's such a huge attack surface on the cryptocurrency addresses. You buy something or trade something out there, and you get locked in on the cryptocurrency address. You need more than just protecting IP addresses, in my mind, to meet what the average person on the street will think about having privacy. So I think there's a threshold out there. It probably involves, in my mind, it involves protecting the addresses and hiding the amounts, and then identifying as a privacy coin, so that people are open about, here's this important good thing we're working on, and we're continuing to evolve and address concerns related to privacy. That'd be my take.
Interesting. So actually, you mentioned about. So you said you need to do more than just hiding the network, your IP addresses. And you also mentioned about amounts, right? And there are actually a lot of privacy coins that don't hide amounts, like CCX, which, says that, we can't hide amounts because you remove auditability. And Firo or Zcoin, as it then was, also did not hide amounts using the Zero Coin Sigma protocols as well, and only with Lelantus and Lelantus Spark. So I don't know whether that
Monero didn't hide amounts when it first came out.
That's right. So maybe let's go with Dr. Cap. Yeah. What's your definition of a privacy coin, or what makes a privacy coin private, right?
I think you kind of start with the definition of what privacy is. And to me, privacy is about controlling the information that you wish to make public to other people. So, there are degrees of that. And the degrees of that will vary in terms of what a person wants. Firstly, there's what a person wants. And then secondly, there's what a person needs. And in terms of privacy, being able to control the information you convey to the public, what a person wants may not necessarily be the best thing when you consider what they need. So there's that. But equally, what a person wants, it may just be that they don't mind who sees where their funds are coming from and where they're going to, but perhaps they don't want the amounts being exposed to the public. So, for example, you know, in the UK, you know, culturally, you don't talk about how much you're making on your salary, and you know, people really frown if you start getting overly inquisitive about how much you made this month. However, we know exactly where your money came from, which is your employer, and most people are generally sort of comfortable disclosing some of their spending habits. Well, I paid my mortgage, I'm going to use this money to pay my bills, I'm going to maybe take my kids out to the park and buy them some ice cream. You know, that's kind of the example. But then there are other people for whom that's not good enough. And that could be, you know, the most common, the example that always comes to mind in my head is ultra high net worth individuals. You know, they don't want the public. If I was a ultra high net worth individual, I wouldn't want the public to know where my money was necessarily coming from or where it was going to, because that, you know, and the amounts being exchanged, because then third parties who may want to steal my stuff or utilize that information to commit acts of fraud against me, or utilize that sort of information to commit acts of industrial espionage, or maybe steal trade secrets or other aspects of my personal professional life that are important to me, and actually need to sort of be kept secret in order for me to sort of maintain my personal value to society and my personal level of wealth, you know, may not want those things to be shared. And in that case, I would want a level of privacy where people don't necessarily even know that I'm operating, and they don't know where my funds are coming from, where they're going to, and how much, except for the parties involved. And then, you know, I sort of mentioned that can scale up to the industrial and enterprise level, whereby you've got complex supply chains operating between various companies, and, you know, they may be centralizing to a company producing a very IP sensitive product, and they may not want their competitors to know their exact supply chains because it may give them a competitive edge. So in a sort of free market economy, I think privacy has a valuable role to play. And in that end, I think with this sort of framework, I think there's room for lots of different privacy coins utilizing lots of different strategies and lots of different levels of privacy. And I think that creates kind of a free market where the individual should kind of ideally be educated and decide what's best for them. That's what I think.
Cool. All right, let's play a fun game, actually. We're going to go to the CoinGecko.com privacy coin sector, and we're going to go and give our opinions of whether a privacy coin or not. I have a very strong opinions of certain things. But all right, let's go through just based on market cap. I mean, not that we're rating them, but we go in order of market cap. Okay, let's, you know, if we think it's a privacy coin, we just say privacy coin. All right. So, okay, let's go with Monero. All right. To me, yes, definitely a privacy coin. Pivax, yeah, definitely, right? Cap?
Yeah, you don't see me disagreeing here. They're privacy coins.
I think like Monero, I think is the very like definition of what a privacy coin is. It's like payments really like, I mean, like the traditional kind of understanding of what a privacy coin is about payments. It's about, you know, hiding sender, receiver, and amount, right? And it also has network protection and it's mandatory privacy. I think anyone who says Monero is not a privacy coin, well, I don't know what else is then, right? Okay, let's go to the next one, which is Oasis Network or Rose. Privacy coin or not a privacy coin? I don't really know much. I mean, I know that they are privacy
focused.
It's like privacy enabled scalable layer 1 blockchain. I don't really know what exactly is their privacy enabled thing. But yeah, I would pass on this one. How would you guys rate this? They're like $500 million market cap.
It's amazing how I think they focus on AI. I think, and I think that's how they identify. They may have private. I'm with you, Ruben. I don't know too much about their privacy technology, but the fact that they don't identify strictly that way. You know, they have that as a feature, but they're AI focused. I don't know. I'm unsure.
Your opinion, Oasis?
I am literally reading their website as we speak, and
It's a lot of mumbo
like,
jumbo. But
I mean,
they
they're
have
not
good people. They have good people in it, but I don't really know how their privacy works. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still getting. I'm trying to figure it out. It sounds like they're offering privacy for smart contracts, but it's not yet clear to me, sort of, in whether this is just smart contracts on their chain or if it's smart contracts on the EVM or Ethereum or any chain that utilizes EVM. I mean, certainly there is room for better privacy on EVM-related smart contracts. There's a lot of room for better privacy on EVM-related smart contracts. But whether this is private or not, honestly, I don't know.
No worries. Okay, let's go. Zcash.
One thing before we move on,
yes.
I think Oasis. I was just looking it up here, and we're going to get down to secret too, which is this way.
Yes, that's right.
They use a trusted execution environment. It'd be good to touch on that. You know, we don't after we finish this, whether that to what degree that qualifies, and we should be concerned about. But I just wanted to point that out, Rose, and I think Secret also does private smart contracts. To do that, they use a trusted execution environment, which you need to be comfortable with. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. I also see Oasis Network does use TEs for smart contract execution and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I think we'll talk about that later, but let's go with Zcash.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think the only thing you say that they aren't a privacy coin is it's not mandatory privacy. I guess that's the only argument against them, but otherwise they're very much a privacy coin. And you know, whenever people talk about privacy coins, it's like Monero, Zcash at the very least, right? So let's go with Beldex.
I don't know about Beldex.
Well, I think from the project, it does look. I don't know if they took some of your stuff, but they're using ZK Snarks as well. I don't know how they're using it, but they have master nodes. So I'm not sure. Yeah, they do actually have master nodes. I'm not sure if it was like a PIVX for of their own thing. But you know, assuming they are using, they did say on-chain optional privacy, so I'm gonna put them like most likely a privacy coin, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah. And Cam, you know, if
further research.
Sorry,
I was just gonna say.
I said
probably.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say probably, but let's get him on as guest, and same with Oasis.
That's true. That's true. Dash, this is a difficult one.
It is.
Yeah, Dash was an OG privacy coin, right? Back then, it was only Darkcoin, which what Dash was, and Monero. These were the only two privacy coins that were out there, right? But now it's like not very clear because, you know, there was this legal, there was this memo that they put out. They said, we're not a privacy coin. We are exactly the same as Bitcoin. You know, we have the same coin join features that Bitcoin has, even though their master nodes actually facilitate the coin joins.
Right.
But now, I mean, now they're talking about maybe implementing confidential transactions, which just hides amounts, and then they'll use CoinJoin or whatnot. And they're also looking into our technology, which is Lelantus Spark, which I would say, yeah, obviously, if you implement Lelantus Spark, you know, you're definitely going to be a privacy coin. So, okay, so like, okay, first of all, in its current state, would you call Dash a privacy coin?
Well, I think, like you said, Dash has like taken a step away from that as their self-identification method, and that I think, you know, if they're moving back to it, that's great. But taking a step away from that kind of takes them out of the running. But there is something to be said for the way that they do it. They do, of course, like you mentioned, they they use mixing for their privacy, and mixing, of course, the big concern with mixing is you have to trust the mixer, at least the way that Dash does it. And you know, you would hate to like imagine somebody's like infiltrated and, you know, they've got master nodes, a lot of master nodes running, keeping track of this and undermining the privacy. that's the risk of the mixing approach. But there actually is a benefit of the mixing approach, which is it's like immune to algorithmic breakthroughs. You know, if we have a quantum computer that hacks the mixing that's being done cryptographically, you know, everybody likes to. It's really going to undermine privacy because there's no way to undo it. You know, people like to talk, you know, if there's big algorithmic breakthroughs, like with Bitcoin, they'll just move away from SHA-256 to something else, and everybody will move their coins, and you can preserve value when you have an algorithm break, but you can't preserve privacy because the record is out there. So it does have that going for it. It's quantum resistant, you know, just putting that out there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree. Although, like the privacy, I mean, there's a lot of like transaction intersection attacks and all this other stuff that's been pretty well documented. That, like, you know, I would say the privacy. It's like, I think when Dash, or when it was Darkcoin, when it first was out there, you know, it was the best privacy that we had, right? It was basically coin join and ring signatures without confidential transactions. Those were the only two privacy methods then. So, I mean, back then you would say definitely Darkcoin Dash was definitely a privacy coin. Now, because of, as you said, the self-identification and, like, you know, the tech has not really kept up. You know, I would say it's a bit tough. I think self-identification is a big thing, but yeah, I think most regulators would still call Dash a privacy coin. I think just a really interesting, you know, kind of interesting, like, oh, where do we put Dash, right? Cap, any additional thoughts on this?
I think Dash made a very clever PR move by not calling themselves a privacy coin. And I get that they may want to avoid scrutiny from regulators and exchanges, but they do have privacy tech. And now a lot of people are going to say, you know, I remember Basic Swap Dex posted a tweet about Dash being a privacy coin, and we had some Monero maxes saying it is not a privacy coin and getting super angry. And, you know, if you go back to what I said earlier, I mean, yes, it is I think it is a privacy coin, but I think that privacy is weak, that the privacy it offers is weak, and it may not be the right level of privacy for a number of people. But I think it might actually be good enough for some people. So yeah, it's not changed at all.
One of the other things is that, you know, unlike in, you know, let's say in any of our privacy protocols, we can just like, you know, send or complete the send of a private transaction, at least at the very max, a couple of minutes, right? But with Dash, if you want to privatize, like make your coins private, when you go through this like coin join, or they call it private send, I don't know, I think maybe they rebranded it back to coin join to avoid the whole privacy thing. You actually have to wait like possibly several hours, you know, and sometimes even days if you want like to mix it several rounds, right? And so it becomes very, I would say it's kind of clunky to use the privacy in that, you know, versus like Monero, Zcash, you know, any of our privacy coins is just like bam, you know, strand it. At the very most, you just need to go from the transparent layer to the shielded layer, and that, like, you know, takes a couple of minutes at max. So yeah, I do think it's interesting, but it's great that Yanuchar brought up that, you know, these type of methods are, I would say, yeah, quantum resistance, like, you know, even the chain, it still provides some privacy, even with its known weaknesses. So yeah, next one, Mask Network. I'm just going to say outright, this is not a privacy coin. You know, I think the only privacy that they provide, they can correct me if I'm wrong, but is some end-to-end encrypted messenger, which to me just... Yeah, I mean, you do privacy doesn't mean you're a privacy coin. I think the entire network is a freaking ERC20. So 0 privacy points there. At least I wouldn't call it a privacy coin. I would call it like in the category of projects that try to improve privacy, but it's not a privacy coin. So you guys. Yanushar?
I like your logic. Your logic sounds solid.
It's a private messaging service, but it's not a private currency. That's
right.
I'm going with that.
Yes, very similar to Oxen. Oxen used to be, they used to also have a ring signature model, but now they are abandoning their Oxen blockchain, which was based off ring signatures, and moving to something called Session, which is going to be an ERC20 on some layer 2, right? So yes, their messenger is great. It is privacy preserving, but that doesn't make them a privacy coin, right? So they're kind of in the same category there. Now, the next one's pretty interesting. It's Decred, right? I think a lot of us are big fans of Decred.
Right. It's hard not to be a fan of Decred.
Yeah. I think one of the, most, kind of OGs, I would say. And I think also one of the OGs in governance as well. They have a really interesting privacy mechanism which is kind of like a newer version of CoinJoin, but they kind of enforce it in a protocol layer where it's part of their consensus. I am probably not the best person to explain this, but there is mixing happening all the time, so that most of Decred has passed through some sort of mixer or so. So, and obviously, it's a much better version of CoinJoin. It's a Coin Shuffle plus. I can't remember the exact name. But yeah, how would you guys classify Decred, right? Because it's kind of like similar as Dash, but in a way it's kind of the shielding is kind of like part of its network, which is actively not shielding or mixing coin joining all this stuff. So yeah, is this a privacy coin or no? No amounts hidden, all normal addresses. Is it a privacy coin or not?
I think the mixing it's become, like, in my mind, a little part of the defining feature of them too. And like you say, it's innovative. It's happening behind the scenes. And it's Decred, so I feel like I'd be inclined to give it credit for being a privacy coin.
Yeah, it also has Lightning, but it's like if you say, Lightning's and then Bitcoin's a privacy coin too, right?
Yeah, right.
I found it uses the Coin Shuffle plus protocol. Yeah, so but it's kind of inbuilt into their ticket buying process of stakeholders or something like that. So yeah, how about Dr. Cap dropped off? He's back.
Hey,
yeah, we were talking about Decred. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think protocol level enforced privacy is fantastic. So yeah, if I'm calling Dash a privacy coin, then Decred's definitely a better version of privacy to me. So it's easy.
Cool. All right. How about Mimblewimble coin?
Yes, it's in the name.
Definitely. 100%. I really like. So the one thing about Mimblewimble that I've never gotten my head around, or as yet to get my head around, is it's basically how they validate the transactions. But in principle, I like the approach they've used because it's really scalable. But I just can't get my head around how they validate their blocks or their they don't have a history because they effectively prune it every block.
But the most famous, not in market cap, but the most famous Mimblewimble coin, even though the market cap is really low, it's actually Grin, right? Like everyone knows that
right.
the OG Mimblewimble implementation that made Mimblewimble famous was Grin, and they don't call themselves a privacy coin. So
I mean, we're at the Litecoin conference in a week and a half, and we are literally talking about, one of the big things with Litecoin is they implemented Mimblewimble as optional state, as a parallel state chain to give, optional privacy. It's a privacy coin. There is.
Yeah, it's
even if you say you're not a privacy
coin on this list, because it would have been up at the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Litecoin should be on this list, and a big part of what we're presenting is to kind of make the case that Litecoin has very strong underlying privacy technology now. It's just not been utilized a great deal because Mimblewimble transactions aren't natively supported on a lot of centralized exchanges. But, our decentralized exchange is bringing that support. Actually, one of the things we are hoping to do is effectively, one of the things we're going to advocate for while we're there, I hope we get this, is to get an implementation of basic swap decks actually integrated into the Litecoin wallet. Because then, bidirectional MWeb swaps, with Monero and PivX and Firo and Decred and Particle and all the other coins that we support, and Dash, among them, I think that would be a huge audience, and I think that would really expand the room for privacy. And I think, I think one of the reasons Litecoin's not really recognized as a privacy coin, again, goes back to it doesn't really market itself that way, but doesn't change the fact that it has that features set. And the same with Grin. What does Grin market itself as, out of interest?
So to be fair, to give some context, Grin answered that Mimblewimble wasn't meant to be a privacy coin. It was meant to be for scalability and all of that. They only brought up this argument when that post by Ivan Bugatti kind of said that, oh yeah, the transaction graph is like totally exposed if you're monitoring the network, right? And then they say, yes, we all knew this. We're not actually a privacy coin. I mean, I was really disappointed with that response, but it's kind of crazy, right? But yeah, Mimblewimble coin is like 170 million market cap, but at the same time, its daily volume is $5,000. So yeah, I'm not sure what's happening over there.
I think Grin just have a very, very, very high inflation rate. That's the only explanation for that. And it must have, because
I don't know about Mimblewimble coin, but Grin, right? The tokenomics were like criticized, weren't they?
That it kills the liquidity. The higher the inflation rate, the faster the liquidity dies off over time.
But it's fair, though.
I think
if people talk about fair launch, it's the most fair way because you don't get an early adopter advantage, which kind of like goes to everything, right? Like, a lot of people say, fair launch, like 100% of 99% of a supply, allocated in the first 2 years. I mean, like, I get it, right? But then if you want to talk about that, Grin, to, I guess, Monero, I would say like those emission cycles are technically, if you want to go by fair, that's the most fair. Whether it's good for the coin, it's a separate thing, though.
Now, Ruben, why would you consider it fair to have a faster release?
It's not a faster release. It's a fixed release forever. It's not like, it's like, that means like whether you get in now or you get in later, you are at the same point, right? Like, the emission and, if you talk about inflation, the inflation rate actually drops because once the coin becomes
there's a higher,
there's a higher, right?
The denominator gets bigger.
Correct. So the idea is that, like some people say that, with the fair distribution means that I'm not like super rewarding the early adopters. Like if you take a look at Monero, you take a look at or like say Pirate Chain, right? Yeah, they have like really like front loaded emission where maybe your coin wasn't that well known then, and then like a small group of individuals that just mine the heck out of it. Like that's not really fair distribution, is it?
Oh, right. I misunderstood. So essentially you're saying a slower spreading out the distribution is fair.
Correct. Right? That's right.
Because a constant release spreads it out over something like, compare that to the like Bitcoin or Monero emission curve. Monero is fixed now, but it wasn't fixed in there. Initially,
it was most of the supply was in the first 2 years.
I agree completely with what you're saying. Spreading out the release more is fair. Yep.
It's fairer, but not necessarily good for the coin. I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad, but it's just like,
better for security later.
Yeah, I guess. So let's go to Digibyte. This is an interesting one, kind of an OG. Yeah, I would say no, but I'll let you guys weigh in first. I should stop. Yeah.
I think Digibyte, I like the project. I don't think of it as a privacy coin.
It's not.
I'm surprised it's on this list. Even.
I'm really surprised it's on this list too.
Just why would it be on the list?
Yes,
I don't know enough about Digibyte to point. I don't think I can comment on Digibyte. So.
Yeah, it has dandelion. That's what I checked. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
No, so the answer to that is no. It's not. If that's it, then no. No, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
So you.
Okay, so let me revise what I said at the beginning. I think you need to have at least one of obscuring sender, receiver, and amount. And if you're not doing that, it's not privacy.
So would you say Mimblewimble is not a privacy coin when the transaction graph is exposed? Yeah, I'm just throwing you a curveball. All right, let's go to.
Is the transaction graph 100% exposed for Mimblewimble coin? Is that?
Not for Mimblewimble. For vanilla Mimblewimble, it is kind of exposed. If you're monitoring the network, which is why when Ivan Bogaty posted it, he's saying like, yeah, we can see A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to D. It's all exposed. You just don't know the amounts.
If you're monitoring it
it's like not difficult to monitor though. Yes, that's right.
It's not just by looking at the blockchain. I guess that's the distinction. You need more than just looking.
Also, wouldn't you need to be monitoring it all the time? Like all the time? Because as soon as you take your eyes off, you can lose that stream.
But not really, because the thing is that the transaction volumes on these chains aren't very large. So most of the time, the cut through doesn't even happen. The cut through happens is like A goes to B, B goes to C. What's recorded on the blockchain is A goes to C. Right? But if you block...
So this is... Yeah. I was going to say this is interesting because actually a fundamental dynamic of a good, strong privacy is actually then high liquidity or high transaction volume.
Right.
That's clearly like a feature of a strong privacy coin. And that, strangely enough, is not a metric that is inherent to any given coin, unless you somehow, whatever reason, decide to automatically program, like, you know,
spam transactions.
I guess could you design a? Yeah, you could spam. Yeah, your wallet and your wallet or your account automatically spams transactions. You just happen a coin that is designed to deliberately spam equal amount of transactions. Maybe that could be a thing. Maybe someone could design that.
Like Pirate Chain suffered a spam attack. Zcash also had several years of spam attacks. They did. Monero is also being a flooding attack as well. So yeah, it makes their chain a lot bloated, and a lot of them may be fake, but does it improve privacy? Kinda, yeah, right. So this is really interesting. Should we be all faking our transactions online and just spam our chain with lot of
Well, I mean, it is actually interesting you're saying this because with the particle marketplace, that marketplace enforces ring CT transactions by default. So in theory, the more that you're using the marketplace for non-speculative, so for actual organic usage, then the strength of security should increase exponentially, or at least exponentially and then plateau off. That's what I think anyway.
So there's this coin next on the list called OXO AI Smart Contract. It has an Ethereum contract. Let me see. What does it do for privacy? Privacy is a foundational core value. Okay. But uses an ERC20 token, a comprehensive privacy first solution featuring a burst of AI-based safety tools. Okay. It has a privacy mixer. I don't know. I don't want to comment on this. Kind of interesting. Yeah. Do you guys want to comment? Take a
guess? My first red flag was it's an ERC20 token.
Yeah.
That was my first red flag.
Yeah, it seems hard. I'm not familiar with the project, but it has challenges being an ERC20 token. It needs to do something kind of off chain, off of the Ethereum blockchain, right, to be private. It seems.
Well, I click on their launch mixer and it doesn't work. So yeah, okay. All right, let's go to Dusk. I would consider Dusk a privacy coin. They have quite an interesting setup. I'm not like super familiar with all the latest stuff, but I know that they've been developing privacy tech for a long time. But I'm not sure why they weren't really flagged in many of the privacy coin bans as well. Yeah, so kind of interesting there. Do you guys want to try your hand at Dusk?
I'm not familiar with Dusk. I would like to comment.
Are they like a ring CT coin or?
No, it's using I remember the last time they were using, they tried to do like bulletproof ZK and then they moved to some other ZK. But yeah, it's not like a ring CT base as far as I know. Yeah.
I would like to just follow up a comment about the previous one, the 0x0.ai. Now, if it could do something similar, I guess, to Tornado Cash, but wouldn't that put it at like regulatory risk? I don't know. I feel like it's.
But would you consider Tornado Cash a privacy coin?
That's a very good question. I guess would the question be like Tornado Cash is a technique, right? Is Ether a privacy coin? I don't know. I think you need more than just having a technique, because you can really add a technique to any coin, right? Wouldn't that be fair? There needs to be a self-identification part, and there needs to be something built in.
It's kind of interesting in the sense that Tornado Cash probably has the worst reputation of any privacy project. I'm not talking a privacy coin, but privacy project, right? It's the only project that has been actually sanctioned, right? And it's probably, probably the most used, one of the most used privacy protocols in the entire crypto space, even when you compare to Monero, right? Like if somebody does a hack, if North Korea is involved, if some big state actor is involved, what they're going to be using, they're going to be using Tornado Cash, right? And yet at the same time, they have a governance token called TON, which is totally transparent. So yeah, Tornado Cash is a tough one. I wouldn't call it a privacy coin, but it's definitely a big privacy supporter, like it's such a pillar of Ethereum privacy.
It's important. Right? It's very important. And it actually has off-chain components too. I don't remember the exact details of how it works, but there's something to prevent like timing attacks. You can go through like third parties, relayers, right. Right.
The relayers pay the fees for you. So
that's it.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. They pay the fee, so you can't be tracked down through the fee payment. That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cap, any thoughts on Tornado Cash? Oops, he dropped off.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, so I think, we've already like almost 1 hour. I'll just like quickly run through like a little bit more and then probably can open the floor to, what makes a privacy coin private, right? But I mean, I think like in a nutshell, how it's normally taught, you need to protect sender, you need to protect receiver, you need to protect amounts, and you need to protect the transaction graph and the network layer. I mean, like those are the I guess the kind of cornerstones, right? And I guess with the new type of privacy coins, where they like, for example, like Xano, or also like Firo, which, with his upcoming Spark assets, we also hide the asset type, right? Which, Tornado Cash does not, but Tornado Cash Nova, which I don't know if it is deployed, does actually have high asset type as well. So I guess like these are the things that kind of make a privacy coin private. But I guess the whole, maybe the bigger question, instead of saying, what is a privacy coin, is is the term privacy coin even useful, right? Maybe it's just like, we provide some kind of transactional privacy, right? Curious what your thoughts are on that.
I definitely think it's useful. I think it's something we can rally around, and it's like it represents a mindset too. Which
That's
is
true.
Towards like, I actually think like a lot of like privacy, they establish a moral high ground with the theme, and then it's something that we can rally around as actually a benefit of going to cryptocurrency instead of using the traditional financial system, which at least it exposes what we're doing to banks and other participants. Transparent coins actually expose even more than the traditional financial system if you can tie an address to a user. So I think that that like mentality and that like having a purpose for it that has moral high ground is important.
Definitely. I wonder where Dr. Cap was. He sounded like he was on the move though, so maybe he lost thing.
Is he? He's not back.
Yeah. So, or anyway, we are on the last 10 minutes of our scheduled like privacy roundtable. Maybe we can start opening questions to the audience. You can be about anything about privacy, I guess. Doesn't have to be about what makes a privacy coin private. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask, or we'll just keep talking? I guess, you can raise your hand. We can make you a speaker. Or if you're shy, you can also post it in there's this replies thing that you can also type your question in as well. But I guess while we're waiting, we can talk a little bit more.
I'd be interested in your take, Ruben, on the trusted execution environment.
Interesting.
We didn't get down to Secret, but Secret uses it, and we researched that Oasis network uses it. What do you think of that approach?
It's interesting in the sense that the tokens themselves and the coins themselves all do not have privacy, but the contracts do. That means like the state, the interactions within the contracts are private, but the as far as I know, like the token is not private in itself. So I don't know whether that, to me, that doesn't count as a privacy coin, because like, yes, the smart contract logic is being hidden and all of that, which is important. But, if I'm sending A to B, if that's not hidden, like that to me doesn't count as a privacy coin. You are part of the privacy ecosystem, but not a coin per se, because I think the connotation of privacy coin, that means the coin itself has to have privacy, right? So that's why I wouldn't even consider Tornado Cash a privacy coin. That's more like a privacy service, right? With a totally transparent token, right? Yeah.
Right.
So Joe did is typing. He's trying to rejoin, but he brought up a really interesting point, whereby he says, he was going to say Tornado Cash no, Ethereum's perhaps someday, because there's an ERC proposal to implement stealth addresses, right? So would you, if Ethereum implements stealth addresses, would you consider it a privacy coin?
With amounts not hidden, presumably.
Amounts not hidden.
And the transaction graph still.
Yes, the transaction graph. I'm not sure how they get around the fee part. Maybe there is some, I think maybe some account abstraction thing that possibly works that way. But it would be a huge improvement. But I just wonder.
It would be very welcome and wonderful. Right.
How would you integrate that into an existing Ethereum ecosystem where a single Ethereum address also hosts a bunch of other tokens as well, right? And are you saying that, I now all my MetaMask and whatnot is going to have like 1,000 different addresses all the time that's like auto-generated? I'm not exactly sure. I have to probably go into that ERC proposal to take a look, but I think it'll be a huge improvement, because I think one of the biggest problems is actually that receiver privacy, right? Where I'm giving an address to someone, I should not be able to plug that address into a blockchain explorer and see your entire history, which I think is super important, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I kind of like your model of like having thousands of addresses for holding the different tokens. It'd be nice to have, like, you just look at it, you don't know that the holder of these tokens is connected, right?
Mm. Well, if like, I guess one of the biggest, like, the elephant in the room is that, is there actually a need for privacy coins, right? Because, like, let's say, privacy becomes a bit more mainstream. Okay, I mean, like, let's say, like, Bitcoin starts implementing confidential amounts, right? Like, basically, confidential transactions. That means the amounts are hidden, and then they start implementing stealth addresses. What then? Either should we still be? I mean, I think it's really unlikely for that to happen. But what would your opinion be then, right?
Is it necessary? Do we need the privacy?
More of like, do you think privacy coins have a reason to exist if, like, a major, like, Ethereum and Bitcoin starts implementing, I would say, more serious privacy features?
Yes, that's a great question, and I really, really do. I think that because again, privacy is a spectrum, right? And it's an arms race, and there's really no end to fighting this arms race. And yes, maybe some big guy implements a feature, and which we should encourage, but it's not going to cover everything. It's not going to get every corner case. There's always going to be room for coins specifically focused on privacy, just because no privacy is perfect.
I guess the argument there is that even Fluffy Pony once wrote to say that, Bitcoin Lightning Network's obviously, not super private, but it's probably private enough for most people. So it's like, it's the good enough argument, right? Where I think even as it is, a lot of people don't see, like, I'm using Bitcoin, like, the privacy is good enough, because
right. I like the good enough argument. In fact, that's, that should be the threshold, but it's not good enough for everybody. Right. So there's still like Lightning. I think, the Lightning, the operator sees what's happening, I think, right?
Not the whole picture. He only sees like what it goes in. So like if there's like multiple hops, then it only sees what it sees, right? It cannot see like down the chain and stuff like that. I think there's some talk about onion routing to make it better and all of that. So, but the argument was that because Lightning Network kind of like moves towards kind of like a centralization model, whereby, because obviously for Lightning to work, you want to connect to Lightning hubs which are connected to many other people, because you don't want to have to open a new channel and all of that. That's right. Yes. So as a result, like if a couple of these big hubs kind of coordinate with each other, they can get like a pretty good idea of like who's transacting with who, right? So it's kind of like, it's not on-chain data. I mean, Lightning Network doesn't leave like any sort of on-chain information, but it's kind of like a centralized exchange type of privacy model, right? Yeah.
so as you move through the Lightning Network, is it like wrapped in a way similar to the way Tor is wrapped? You don't know, like each operator doesn't know the final destination.
I've not been following the latest, but there were proposals to introduce onion routing into Lightning Network, which would improve its privacy a lot. But most people, I don't think it is implemented currently. Yeah.
But it could be coming. And
it could be, but it also, it also means that like even as it is, right? Lightning Network, a lot of times, like, oh, cannot find the root, cannot do this and that, right? Onion Network, Onion routing is going to make that a lot worse. Yeah. Yep. So,
and that's another, like, so maybe you get the privacy you want, but you don't have other features you want, like, like, you know, Lightning transactions, sometimes they fail, right? And
that's right.
So there, my philosophy, and again, it's just a philosophy, is there will always be room for smaller privacy coins to address concerns and needs that people have, much like there's animal life filling every niche, right?
Yeah, the thing to me personally is that, you know, I don't think Bitcoin will ever implement meaningful privacy features. It might implement things like, you know, like what's it? Taproot was supposed to make coin joins much more efficient, right? And a lot cheaper, and to allow large scale coin joins with many people. So I don't think it's an issue. Like, I guess, like, to me, maybe the biggest, I would say, more likely that Ethereum implements some sort of meaningful privacy. But even then, it'll be kind of interesting to see how the regulation and how it would affect things, right? Would it make it easier for us, or would it just like make us less relevant? I think it's a bit of both, right? Which is quite interesting,
right?
Yeah. Like, but I feel that a lot of the times the self-identification is what hurts us, right? Like, I mean, even in this latest round of Binance, you know, privacy coin monitoring tech things, there are other coins that do have like similar privacy features than us. I mean, even PivX did not have a monitoring tag, although you guys identify yourself as a privacy coin. They are not included in that list, while others they're like Secret, which did not have you know, transactional coin privacy, they were included in the list, and then they clarified, and then they were taken out, right? And Verge basically said that we're not a privacy coin, which was kind of interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Let me see. Any questions? We have I don't know. Is there any questions? You see, there's like one. It says there's like this one message, not one message, but one response there, but I can't see. Oh, got some quick questions. Okay, the Ravit has a quick question. Do you want to be made a speaker instead? You can put up your hand and then we'll make you a speaker, or do you prefer to just type it out? And after that, yeah, if anyone has any other questions, we'll take them now. And if not, I think it'll be a good time to wrap up. This is a Friday night for me.
Oh, wow. Let's see. I think Ruben dropped off. Let's see. Maybe the Firo host can make you a speaker, Ruben. I think the Firo host may need to make you a speaker. Or a host. I'm only a speaker. I don't think I have the ability to do it. Okay, looks like Ruben's coming back in now.
Yeah, I don't see any. Oh, okay, wait. Daravit has posted something. Can you look into Silk, a private stablecoin? That's for Martin. Okay, let's take a look at Silk. But what is Daravit's quick questions? Maybe AJ, could you take a look what he's typing. Oh, requested. See, I think it's, who has requested? Ah, okay. Daravit has requested to be a speaker. Right. Let's take a look at Silk while waiting for this thing to go up. Silk.
It's privacy preserving coin pegged to a basket of global currencies and commodities. I like the pegged to a basket part.
Oh, it's built on the secret network. Okay.
Oh, it's built on secret. That makes sense.
It's built on the SNP20 private and fungible token standard. Okay. Interesting.
That's what Meta wanted to do with their coin, right? To peg it to a basket of goods to make like something even stabler than a
Meta.
currency.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's take a look.
It may have been Facebook when they were trying to do it, but, right?
Ah, Daravit, you're now a speaker, so you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
All right. Good evening, everyone. JM once again. I have a quick question. Yeah, in fact, 1,000 questions, but one of them should be privacy projects. Yeah, I think we hear the word privacy on a daily basis. So, what's the essence of having multiple privacy projects? Like we have Firo, we have PVEX, Secret Network, Zano, and a couple of others. I don't know. Did you get me?
Yeah,
no,
I
get
totally
you.
understand. Go ahead, Yanisha.
Yeah, well, I'd say one thing they all have a different set of features, right? It'd be like why would you build different neighborhoods in a city with different some are townhouses, some are apartments, some are houses with pools and so forth, and different people want different features, and some of those features we don't even know how they will play out yet. It's good to have different things being tried because we don't know how useful or successful they'll be in the future. That'd be my take on why we need multiple privacy projects.
In my opinion, especially for privacy protocols, I mean, Firo, we develop our own privacy protocols. We don't use other people's stuff. That is actually so we don't want to create like monolithic kind of privacy protocols, right? Like just imagine if Monero never just stuck to like ring signatures. So every privacy coin is using ring signatures, and we're kind of aware about the limitations of ring signatures, right? Like in certain cases, like they don't offer that much of a high privacy. And then, then Zcash came along, they did like privacy in its own way, which originally had stuff like trusted setup, and all this like very fancy moon math crypto. And obviously, we went a different route where we don't use moon math crypto. We use compartmentalized stuff. And our work has now is now influencing Monero as well, right? So if we just kind of say all of us are going to be using the same privacy protocol, that is going to be pretty risky, right? We've seen many privacy protocols being broken and new threats are always being built. Like, for example, Zcash privacy protocol was totally broken for the first 2 years, right? Monero's privacy protocol was broken for the first 4 years. Zcoin, Zerocoin, when we first used it, was broken for 6 years, right? So, these type of stuff, it's important to have, things to switch to, right? And we were kind of lucky that we were developing new privacy protocols. And I feel that privacy protocols at the moment don't exist in their own vacuums. They all kind of influence each other. And even if we look past let's face it, right? Cryptocurrencies and privacy cryptocurrencies, essentially we are all experiments. Even Bitcoin is kind of like an experiment. Obviously, it's one that has, kind of gained thing, but we still don't know what happens when all the Bitcoins are almost mined, right? What happens then? Is the transaction fees enough, right? So a lot of it, if we all just say there's only one privacy coin, all of us should have the same emission as Bitcoin. All of us should just follow Monero's cycle. We should only have CPU mining. We should only be proof of work. then that actually, I would say it's pretty risky, right? Like, I actually think that proof of work is not a great security model for smaller coins, especially if you can be mined by commodity hardware. So I do think that having unique features, and especially projects that try to push a certain thing, it makes sense to have server, right? Like, for example, like Xano, right? Like, they have great like asset support, right? But it doesn't have smart contract features, which may be good, may be bad, right? Because, if you don't have smart contract features, you may argue that it's more secure, but it's also using ring CT, which isn't the best. And like current, the asset model doesn't support NFTs. While smart assets, although isn't here, supports NFTs. It has different trade-offs to Xano's model, where we can probably support more, we can scale to more assets, but there's certain like benefits to Xano's model as well. So I would say at this stage, it is always important to have kind of like a very alive ecosystem of ideas, and all of us should be free to experiment on that, and we'll see which ideas work and which don't. Yeah. And if you don't have
I love that model, Ruben, by the way. Every coin is an experiment, isn't it? And to answer the speaker's question, it's good to have more experiments.
Right. Yeah. Actually, Carp is back, so I think he can talk now. I'm still looking at Shade, but I'm not sure what you would like me to comment on. It probably not something that I can just read the white paper right now and answer in 5 minutes. But I'll definitely take a look, and I'll check back in. Yeah. But go ahead, Cap.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, firstly, sorry that I cut out. I spent a good 15 minutes trying to get back in, and that's Twitter for you. But I agree. I think these coins they're technology experiments, but they're also social experiments, and the privacy aspects of these coins will reflect not just the technology aspects, but those social aspects. So that needs to be factored in. I think when you guys asked earlier, and this is the point I cut out, was, is Tornado Cash a privacy coin? It's not a privacy coin, it's a privacy service. But is Ethereum a privacy coin? Not right now, but there is an ERC improvement. There's basically an Ethereum improvement proposal to implement stealth addresses in. So perhaps in the future it will be. And we've seen sort of zero knowledge proofs, which, in my mind, sort of started off as privacy tech being utilized to improve scalability by bundling up transactions. And that's certainly being used within Ethereum from a scalability viewpoint. So I think there's lots of room for applications of privacy technology that go well beyond the scope of just privacy. I think that's an important point to bear in mind. So, yeah.
Yeah, back to maybe Martin's question a little bit. I mean, again, this is just from a very quick look at the thing. And the issues with, I guess, like stable coins that are kind of backed by collateral, which is generally quite a good model, but there always needs to be an oracle that kind of compares the price of the underlying like collateral asset. Like, for example, if you take a look at Silk, it says that it can accept stake Secret, stake Luna, stake Atom, and even maybe wrap BTC and potentially Monero when the time is right. The failures in oracles have happened many times before, and even so, what was that private stablecoin project? Haven also had an issue with their oracle that really messed things up. I'm not saying that it's bad, but it is a security risk to have to rely on. First of all, your stablecoin is only as safe as the quality of your collateral, right? And if you are accepting stake Secret, how stable is the secret as a network, and how liquid is it, right? So, for example, if you take a look at Beam, also another privacy coin, they have Nephrite, right, which is backed by staked Beam, right? And obviously the price of Beam fluctuates up and down. It's risky, right? Like, yes, it gets liquidated, but you have to realize it's sometimes quite hard to assess liquidity, like how liquid are your markets to actually enable these efficient liquidations or so. So I would say that, it's a good idea, but it really, first of all, depends on the quality of the collateral that you think and how it's also being locked, right? And yeah. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents, because remember, with all this kind of stake stuff and whatnot, if the government really doesn't like it, what happens if they choose to freeze that collateral, right? Or they, like, what happens then? That I wouldn't really consider it a true algorithmic stable coin. It's more like a over collateralization, but they each have their both pros and cons there. So yeah, just a little contribution. Graphic size Zano says, I think if bigger chains like Bitcoin and Ethereum should implement privacy, it wouldn't still be perfect. Smaller projects will still need to tackle some areas of privacy perfectly. We should also keep in mind that privacy evolving. I definitely agree, but I guess the question is that the good enough, right? Like, yeah, obviously there will still be privacy coins that offer really high privacy, but how much do people value that, right? We can actually even say that maybe privacy isn't valued enough today, right? And if other coins already have good enough privacy, and it's a big question whether other privacy coins would have such a big impact. So yeah, I mean, that's my 2 cents.
I like Graffy's comment. I'm inclined to agree with it. You're right. It needs to be good enough, but what's good enough for different people will be different enough, I think, to keep small projects needed.
Sure. All right, so we are approaching the 1 hour 20 mark. We've got answered 3 questions. I think this is probably a good place to kind of wrap up. I guess I'll leave any closing thoughts from Yannisha and Cup.
Yeah, well, I think it was a great discussion, and I think it's an important discussion. What is a privacy coin, and what's the value, and what's the road ahead? It's been good discussing these points. Good topic.
Cup, any final thoughts?
I'd like to see more liquidity flowing into the privacy ecosystem, irrespective of coins. I think liquidity drives liquidity. And that will drive the success of this ecosystem and the longevity. But equally, we have such a strong underlying ideology that, it's positive that we've managed to maintain, support, and grow such a diverse privacy ecosystem in spite of liquidity challenges on a global regulatory level. So, there's a lot to look forward to as far as I'm concerned. Lots of things to be positive about, and the fact that we've survived in spite of our challenges is, really proof that there is substance to our ideology.
Yeah, I think even going back to Daravit's questions, where is there a point to having multiple privacy coins? I mean, if everyone followed the Monero route, every single privacy coin at the moment will probably be delisted from Binance, right? And that would also lead to privacy coins just kind of being this barrier in this very weird ecosystem where we don't really have centralized exchanges, right? So I do think there's importance in plurality of ideas for better or for worse. So with that, I would, first of all, thanks to all the speakers that come and spend their Friday and their time to come. And also thank you so much to everyone who decides to come listen and ask questions. You guys, make these privacy roundtables worthwhile. And, if you're watching this on YouTube or somewhere else, we are always monitoring the comments. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask down there. And I really actually enjoyed going through the CoinGecko list with the privacy coins, and I hope everyone did too. So.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was cool. I liked it.
Is there like a schedule? Is there like a schedule? Like, how often does this privacy roundtable hold? Maybe weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly?
It's once a month. It's once a month currently. We don't have a fixed schedule, but we make it a point to have it once a month. I think next month we might be having Zcash on, or we might be having Luke Kayaba Nerf on. There's a bunch of potential guests that have expressed interest, but we always announce it and we all take turns to host it. So this time is Firo's turn. Next time, I don't know who's next. Maybe Pivax, maybe Basic Swap or Particle. But it kind of rotates around, but we all repost this thing. So just stay tuned. And, well, I have your DM, so I can just tell you, like, hey, come. So,
right.
yeah.
This is a beautiful space, I must say. I actually met a lot of, people with ideas. And, well, in the end, I would say the space is very much experimental. And so privacy projects having multiple of it, giving persons more choices is actually a good one. So this was a banger space.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Daravit. And all right, we're signing out 10:30 p.m. here. So have a great one, everyone. Take care.
You too. Thanks, Ruben.
Love and light, guys.